Well, good day, everybody. It's August 6th, 2025. It's a Wednesday. I was just looking up here. If you see on that red, I don't know if you can see that far, it says 9/11. That tells you it's Belarus that did 9/11. Anyway, a lot of big, heavy machinery right here. Of course, I'm joking, of course. There's a truck running. Maybe I'll jump inside and drive away with it here. I'm actually going to be just walking down this road. My destiny is over here. That's where I go, quite often to go shopping. Look at all them wheels, man. So, anyhow, let's talk about some vaccines. Let's start off with that. RFK, he came out. He was talking about, I guess they're and it shouldn't be surprising. I guess they stopped contracts with 22, I suppose it's, I don't know if it's vaccines in general or if it's just COVID contracts for the government. Anyway, they stopped it supposedly, and he didn't say exactly, to be sure, if it was vaccines in general or just the COVID vaccines, but he was alluding to the COVID vaccines, and I guess from all, it's pretty. He knew that too. And a lot of people, a lot of expert doctors were saying this, that they're ineffective. Those vaccines were ineffective. And I'll tell you what, it goes much, much further than that, but I'm not allowed to say things like this on YouTube. But, that those vaccines were not what they made them out to be. And apparently, I think even some researchers in America were saying that the Sputnik V from Russia, developed by Russia, actually is effective. It's a different, I think that's, adeno thing. Anyway, so Donald Trump with his warp speed to get these things approved of faster than any vaccine in world history, and I did it by myself, Donald Trump. Yes, because I am the greatest, as everybody knows. I'm the greatest by far. But anyhow, his warp speed. The Russians came out with their vaccine even earlier. I don't know how many months before that, and it turns out that theirs is actually more effective. I don't know if it's completely effective, things like that. But the Russians, I guess, are maybe better at vaccines than the United States, because as you may have gathered if you were doing some research on all of that sort of stuff going on at that time, that the Russians in the 1980s, I believe it was a messenger RNA vaccine back then for the Ebola virus. So there's a vaccine against the Ebola virus. And I'm not exactly sure, I'm not a vaccine developer. I mean, do I look like one? But apparently they have it to where it has a broad, it's a vaccine that I guess that takes in the entire general virus, which I suppose when these viruses mutate, RFK was talking about this in a video, but when they mutate and the vaccines are made by these Western companies, the virus mutates and it's no good anymore. So you may as well just not even do it, because it's no good anymore. And of course, it's very strange. And like I said, I'm not a virologist either. And how these things develop, and the virus tries to survive. It's kind of like they have their own intelligence, and oftentimes what they have to do is they weaken themselves so that they can spread more, because I guess they want to live. I want to live. So they want to live. And to do so, when the host dies, it doesn't really help too much. So they weaken themselves, and then, to spread more often. And I guess that's what happened with the Omicron virus. And that's, I believe I had the Omicron virus. If you trust any of this testing, and there's a lot of people just saying that it was just the flu, and I don't believe or disbelieve in any of this stuff. But anyway, whatever I had something I guess it's like the flu. I had a high temperature and all, and everybody's affected differently. And I didn't feel so bad. I had I believe, if you, I don't really trust so many doctors or anything like that anyway. But I believe I had dengue fever when I was living in the tropics. And yeah, I still want to do the coffee thing, and I'm thinking about it all the time. A coffee video, a lot of people want to know, about my adventures and the coffee stuff back then, and it actually is interesting, and I should be doing that. I wrote down notes and things, but I have to. The thing is the editing, and I just have photos, putting in a bunch of photos and things, and most of them don't have me in there. I don't even know if there's many of me at all in there. Look at this. It's an oak tree. It looks like something is attacking it. Look at that. Look at the leaves, leaf curl and all that sort of a thing. I don't know if they sprayed it with something. I don't have any idea. But anyway, so pocket wolves. Pocket wolves, I guess. Oh, here's an old Soviet car. Look at this. Very interesting. Taking a walk on a dirt road out here in the side. It looks kind of like a Corvair. The old, I think it was a Chevrolet. Chevrolet made Corvair, and the engines were in the back. This one, I have no idea. Maybe it was a copy of it. Okay. But anyway, we're talking about viruses. So, as I say, they stopped paying for these things apparently, and I didn't think they did any more anyway. I don't know why anybody would even fall for that stuff now after all this information that comes out about these viruses. I mean, not about the virus itself, and as Donald Trump calls it, because it came from China, it's a China virus. Well, who was it? Who was it that developed that virus? Was the company a Chinese company, or was it an NIH? Was it Fauci, or was it somebody else that was doing that in Wuhan, China? And I haven't seen any involvement of the Chinese government, but everybody is obviously knowing the Chinese. They freak out when you go on the the metro and you see a Chinese coughing. It's like, oh dang, no, oh gosh, get away, a Chinese coughing, oh boy, it's over, everybody evacuate. Ooh, there's a guy here with no leg, maybe diabetes or something up ahead. So it's a pony, little pony over there. Anyhow, I don't want to be drawing attention to this guy either. Some lady with shopping. What is this? That's, I guess, I don't know if that's apples. Boy, very small. So let's keep going. Okay. As you all know, maybe, this is like the 80th anniversary of when the United States of America, that love freedom and life, dropped the nuclear bombs on Hiroshima during the time when Japan was trying to surrender. They said they agreed on a surrender, but the United States wanted to test these bombs, so they dropped them on Hiroshima to see what would happen to human life and things while they did this. Hiroshima, and then after that it was Nagasaki. So, здравствуйте. And so, yeah, they dropped these bombs, and I guess now they have these commemorations, and the ones for the past few years. I've even mentioned one in a video. They had one, I think it was last year or the year before that. Ursula von der Leyen was there, Van der Witch, and she was trying, and it's going to be a long process, and who knows if it's going to be successful, but they're trying to make everybody think that it was Russia that dropped the bombs on those cities. And at any kind of commemoration, they never, ever mentioned the United States. So I guess it is forbidden to ever mention or allude to the fact that it was the United States that dropped those bombs on civilians. They did not, there was no military there. It was only civilians. And I don't know, it's over 100,000 people died from that. The good old US of A, you know, like Donald Trump, as he wants to stop the killing and things, but nobody's allowed to mention that. I guess, you know, when the United States makes some sort of a mistake, you know, it's not allowed to mention that the United States made the mistake. So it was only everybody else. And even when Russia doesn't make a mistake, Russia's guilty. I mean, that's normally how it is with everything. Or Iran, you know, or whoever the enemy of the week is, or the month, or the century. Russia's the, actually, what is it? Russia is the enemy of the millennium. I don't know, from many centuries. Goes back hundreds of years. So Russia is the permanent designated enemy. Kind of a weird road. This is a village. There's a lot of houses back here. I wonder if the only thing that serves these villages is a dirt road. We're outside of Minsk right now. And normally, roads are one of the prides and joy of Belarus. There's probably a paved road right up there. This thing probably swings around in a U-turn, and it's a paved road up above. I'm guessing. We'll see. Maybe we'll see. It's not really a lot I have to say. So, anyway, even the Secretary General, he was there at this one. And of course, no mention that the United States is the one that did it. And I think even the president or the leader of Japan, whatever his title is, Prime Minister, President, Grand Poobah, I don't even know his name. I'd forget it. I didn't write it down. Anyway, the leader of Japan, of course, he made sure he did not mention the United States. It just shows how much they love the United States. I guess great thing for dropping bombs on their people. Look at this, pumpkins. I wonder, I've seen this before, and then pumpkins say, oh, there's even a pumpkin starting here. And they actually will hang on here. Or is it a zucchini? You never know. It's definitely not a cucumber, but these curbits. Anyhow, I learned a lesson in curbits, you know, back when I was doing farming. You should not use like uncomposted animal manures. So if you get some sort of a horse manure, if you're going to use that, which I wouldn't, or even cow manure, which maybe is more recommended, it should be composted, because if you don't, and curbits like cucumbers, you get very little production, and then the plant dies of a fungus. So you should make sure, for anybody out there that's into farming, make sure that your organic fertilizer has been composted when you use them with curbits. You know, cucumbers, pumpkins, squash, that sort of a deal. I don't know, maybe it even goes to other things. I used it in coffee. I didn't get any, you know, like chicken manure, which has a lot of ammonium nitrate, you know, like nitrogen, and I didn't have any problem. So, yeah, just like I said, there's a paved road up here. So this must swing around. I'm gonna have to head out of here. Car coming. Some of these older houses even. It's not super old. Looks like the next one over there is new house up there. Obviously there must be another road. Oh, somebody's got a nice place. Look at the windows. Maybe they have like a banya or something in there. It's a nice wooden bench. Anyhow, these people still working on doing something here. Okay, nuclear bomb. So somebody's got enough dogs here to make an attack, I guess. А? Я говорю только немного по-русски.
Вы понимаете, что я говорю?
Английский?
А что вы хотите?
Или немецкий?
Если бы я снимал
в YouTube.
в Англии, в YouTube, прислал бы вот эти фотографии, я бы был богатым человеком через Англию.
Богатым?
Конечно, через YouTube.
Нет.
Да.
Нет.
США пошло,
Нет
и
денег.
Англия тоже. Все англоязычное население, они дают денежку на YouTube.
Деньги? No.
Конечно.
No, нет денег.
А в нас зарабатывают.
Только компьютер.
Миллионы.
Это just бесплатно.
С вами собака сейчас поговорит.
I think he was telling me you have to have money to go onto YouTube. I must be a rich guy or something. Here's look at this. Tongue and groove. If you can see that. Old. That's a very old house there. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Oh, that's part of what I was just saying already with the Trump talking about, more disasters. Trump is, of course, I've mentioned it before, and now other people, I think I was mentioning it before anybody else was mentioning this, but now a lot of people have caught on. I've been seeing some, I don't, Danny Hapong, or he's one of them. He's a very good political analyst, I believe, and or strategic analyst, whatever he is. Anyhow, who was he talking to? Oh gosh, he was getting interviewed. Maybe it was by going underground or whatever, but anyway, he's talking about like Donald Trump, pulling off a lot of his things. Look at this log cabin. They probably lived in here at one time, and a long time ago, and then built a house. Anyhow, but talking about like Donald Trump, and he's making these sly threats to Russia, and we all know that Donald Trump, very, very unfortunately, he has this huge ego, and like I was saying at the very beginning when he first came in, he has this drive for success, and if he can't have success, he makes it up. He creates a fake success and says, I did this and I was the greatest. I went back in time and I'm the one that won World War II. Things like that. Some guy looking at me too. It's some quaint little area. They never see anybody walking around like this. Like, I don't know, maybe the guy saw a selfie stick and anyway, that guy down there. But anyway, so he's threatening Russia very obviously. And of course, it's an empty threat. He's not going to go through with it. He's just trying to scare Russia. And I don't know if he got some terrible advisors or who knows what, thinking that Russia's going to be peeing their pants or something like that. And like he's saying that he's threatening them with nuclear war, using submarine-launched nuclear weapons on Moscow. Essentially, if Russia does not capitulate to Donald Trump. It's not to Ukraine. It's to Donald Trump. So Russia must surrender to Donald Trump, or he will launch nuclear weapons. He's trying to put that impression into Russia's head. And what did Russia do? He threatened Dmitry Medvedev. Of course, Donald Trump was the one that started it all, saying, we have the most powerful weapons on the planet. We have nuclear submarines, and I hope I don't have to use them. I just hope I don't have to use them, or something like that. And obviously, Russia's supposed to, oh gosh, he's thinking about using them against us unless we surrender. And it's not to surrender to Ukraine. And what it is, I think he's kind of trying to allude to the fact, what's strange, look at this, somebody has a yellow roof over there. You can see that in the distance, never seen that. Maybe nobody ever orders yellow tiles for their roof off in the distance on a different road apparently. There's a lot of apples in Belarus, especially like I was in Baranovichi. They're all over the place. You get sick of seeing apples. Here's some kind of apples here. Tree's about to break. Looks like a special cultivar that has heavy bearing. Bears heavily. But anyway, Donald Trump, he's the one that started it. Medvedev, I don't even know what Medvedev said. And then so he said, oh, you better watch his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. And so now, instead of even replying to that, Dmitry Medvedev, his reply was, and Putin, is they ended the moratorium on short and medium-ranged missiles, period. So they were constrained by that, and they were going by it. Look, there's cabbage and strawberries. I think strawberry season's over. I don't want to go sneaking through their yard. Maybe I shouldn't even show it like that. But anyhow, so where was I here? Anyway, they're not constrained anymore by these, by the moratorium not to use these things, and of course, strange thing is, I believe even in the first term of Donald Trump, I think he was saying that Russia is ignoring that treaty, or I don't know. So the United States started pumping Europe full of medium-range weapons, nuclear bombs, by the way, pointing them at Russia, saying that Russia is the one that is disobeying them, which they didn't. You know, I guess there's a certain areas where you were prohibited from placing these launchers of and missiles, period. I guess because that's what this whole thing was about, missiles. And I think the ones that are in Belarus are going into Belarus. Of course, those are short-range ones, but of course that was after the threats anyway of Poland. And Poland and you think even the Chihuahua states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, they're threatening to crush Russia. They're going to have their 4,000-man army go in and crush all of Russia, things like that. And I don't think even Russia has anything aimed at them, to be honest with you. But now, I can't remember what's his name. I don't know if he was like in the same position where the office that I used to work in. But anyway, I don't know if he's USAR, United States Army Europe, or because it's a lot different now. And I think now the USAR commander also is in command of Africa, I think. And at that time, when I was in there, the AFRICOM was centered in Stuttgart. And of course, that was also 7th Army. I was in 7th Army, but I was working for the commander-in-chief, the highest general out there. Directly in his office I was working. And that's why I got some of my bragging stories. And now I don't know if they got rid of AFRICOM. They were trying to find a place in Africa for AFRICOM. And I think that was like this thing about this Black Hawk Down, and they're trying to, they wanted to put it in Libya at one time, in Somalia and all this. I don't even know if AFRICOM is located in Africa at all, or maybe it's this general's jurisdiction now, and they don't even have an AFRICOM. I don't know. I should look that up. Maybe Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter, by the way, he had a nice video talking a lot of this stuff. He's really disgusted with Donald Trump. Donald Trump talking about his terrible ego and his bragging and lying. Donald Trump is a big liar. He's a liar and he's a manipulator. He tries to figure out what he can lie about. I don't know. And it's very, very sad, and it's difficult to say, well, who is better, Biden or Trump? And, I don't know. Biden had his things, and Biden was very corrupt. And I guess you have to say that Trump is less corrupt than Biden, but he's just also a nasty guy. Donald Trump is maybe even a more nasty guy than Biden. I really don't know. I guess they both have their flaws. So, but Trump, obviously, he wants to rule the world. Obviously, he wants to make decisions for every single country on earth. When anybody goes to court, it's very strange. Bolsonaro, going to court in Brazil. And so that's why he's even come out and admitted. That's why he is putting these very high tariffs on Brazil. That is one of the main reasons, because Bolsonaro liked Donald Trump. Strange, because Bolsonaro did not get vaccinated, and the world leaders, a lot of them hated him because of that. because he didn't get I mean, not even with the fake vaccines. And of course, as you all know, leaders always get fake vaccines. They get something different than the rest of everybody else. It's very strange because Colin Powell, you know, who I used to work for him, as a matter of fact, as well. That's why I remember this. But he got vaccinated, and a couple of weeks later, I guess he was dead. I've seen other people that didn't live very much longer, just only a week or two after they got vaccinated. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this stuff on YouTube, but anyhow, but most of the time, and I knew this for a long time, since the 1980s, because when I was in the military over there, you know, and I saw that, that elites get different vaccines. And maybe a lot of times they're nothing but placebos, because they know that whatever the deal is, and it's just about making money. Vaccines are money, 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 baby. And old Billy Boy, software engineer, he's really into that, as you know. And he was very, as everybody knows, he was, when Omicron came out, you know, which was the mild variant of COVID, he was really, really angry. He was very angry, because you can get COVID and mild symptoms, and then it's over. And he came out and he said that it really ticked him off, because he wanted to sell these vaccines to everybody, you know. Ursula von der Leyen, what was it, over a billion something, was it 1.8 billion, which, and if they went for €1 each, which they went for more, it would be 1.8 billion. But makes you really wonder what that scandal, how much did Ursula get? And you know, it's like some of these old geriatric women in politics, like Nancy Pelosi. She's capitalizing on millions and millions and millions. She's making millions on insider trading in the U.S. Congress. Everybody knows that. I think they even had something called the Pelosi bill, you know, because of her insider trading and making huge amounts of money, you know, basically knowing what bills are going to be presented, and then cheating and basically stealing money is what it is. It's just cheating the system and making yourself rich by it. So let's see here. Anyway, Trump wants to be the master of the universe. He's trying to, you know, if you don't do what he wants you to do, then you get a punishment. He somehow punishes you. He punishes your entire country. It's collective punishment. I guess, you know, he's a Zionist. You know, that's what Israel does. If for example, somebody in some town, you know, maybe there was a terrorist or something, or somebody did something that Israel didn't like, so they punish the entire town and bomb their houses and things like that. So it's kind of like Donald Trump. I guess maybe that's what Zionists do, is they use collective punishment on people. Like Donald Trump will punish the entire country if the government, you know, does some little thing like put Bolsonaro on trial or something. But what about Moldova right now? They have Gutsel. She is the leader of Gazia or whatever, which is a small republic, an autonomous region within Moldova, and they're putting her in prison for 7 years, and for no crime, for nothing, just for the fact that she's in the opposition. And she's got 2 children. One is a very small child, and they're still throwing her in prison. Like this young lady, she went and met Vladimir Putin, and that was a big no-no. And you know, little knows, you know, you can't guess that they're going to illegally throw somebody into prison. But you know, you can, I guess that's these days and these times, you make up the law as you go along. I don't even know what law they said. Oh, for supporting the Shore Party, which is a different party in Moldova, which is the opposition party. And I think maybe they banned that party. You know, it's sort of like Zelensky. You know, if it's an opposition party, he will ban them. So in other words, so they will have no opposition whatsoever and will always be the eternal leader, master of the universe of their own country. And of course, but Donald Trump, you know, he's always helping with all of this stuff too. Donald Trump is just a lot more sneaky. So he's going with the globalist agenda, the same globalist agenda, you know, which is amazing, as Joe Biden was doing. I'm trying to wonder, where am I lost here? I think that place I want to go is over here. I'll just carry this out here. Maybe I can't cross through here, to be honest with you, and I have to go all the way back down the dirt road. That can't be. Anyhow, so he's trying to manipulate everybody. You know, if you do something he doesn't like Brazil does, or even India. So India, as you all know, what's going on with India. So India buys oil from Russia, oil and gas. They don't buy a huge amount. They probably get some from other places as well, but it's very much like a lot of countries. But they are also committing a crime because they're in the BRICS countries. And Donald Trump's, essentially, he has made BRICS illegal. So he is out to punish and destroy. He's come right out and said it. He's going to destroy BRICS. He wants to destroy BRICS. And BRICS was not necessarily trying to get rid of the dollar, but they wanted to use alternate currencies, and Donald Trump wants to force everybody that they must use the dollar, and they weaponize the dollar. That's what makes countries not want to use the dollar, but he's weaponized it, and of course Biden, the United States is weaponizing it, so they want to control everybody through that, and it's very, very, very distasteful. Very distasteful. You do what the United States tells you to do, or you're going to get financial punishment. And I guess that's incentive enough for everybody to say, well, I think we want to get away from the dollar because that is the instrument that the United States uses to punish us. And obviously, as many people have said, I was saying it all along too, and some people, I don't know if they're of really big consequence. I think it was Richard Wolff and other people. Wow, look at this nice big plot of land here. Is they spread the debt out. That's what the United States does when they have the world's reserve currency. So everybody on planet Earth is paying for the United States debt. So they just print money and they buy terrorists, they buy countries, they buy this, they buy, like big pallets in Afghanistan. Who knows who got all those huge amounts of money on pallets, and all of, a lot of it's going to themselves. That's, so, and the Federal Reserve, all these people are very, very rich. So you got I don't know how many people you have in the world that are super, super rich, maybe 20,000, I don't know. Super rich people never want for anything. So, I'm going the right way, I think. Okay. Anyway, they're going to punish India, and they say because India is fueling Russia's war machine by buying the oil and the gas. And then a lot of people are noticing, well, the United States, they buy, I think, most of their uranium from Russia, and they buy fertilizer from Russia. And the EU still buys a lot of gas and oil from Russia. All of a sudden, it's very busy here. And India at one time said, I don't know if it is still true, but they said a few months ago that the EU buys more gas and oil from Russia in one afternoon than India does in an entire quarter. Somebody said 1 month, but they corrected him. The finance minister said no, more than what India uses from Russia in an entire quarter. In other words, 3 months. So the EU buys more in an afternoon. What do you say, 4 hours maybe, than what India uses in 3 months. But yet they're going to punish India for this. Just say now that it's let's be very liberal about this. And why don't we say that India uses as much gas and oil as the EU uses, well, let's say, I don't know. But anyway, they use a heck of a lot more in Europe, even still, and they're trying to get rid of it. And somebody even was saying, I don't know if this is an exaggeration, they said that buying the LNG, liquid natural gas, from the United States costs 5 times more than buying LNG from Russia. And you know, they didn't need to get LNG. They had it piped through the Nord Stream pipelines. And of course, the United States blew those up. Everybody knows that the United States blew it up. You know, it's like, well, just keep quiet about it. We don't want any real investigation. I think they did an investigation. What was it? Sweden. And they called it inconclusive or something like that. Scott Ritter was a weapons inspector, and he said that all of these like the bombs that were used, you can just take what's mixed with the sand on the ocean floor or the sediment, and you can find out exactly who made those weapons that blew that up. And of course they know, and of course they don't want to say. But first they were always accusing Russia, and who was it? Seymour Hersh, he put out that it was the United States. He even knew names, you know, and exactly how they did it. They even told the plans exactly how it's supposed to be done. And in order to shut him up, Olaf Scholz rushed to the United States with an alternate story that, what was it? Some guys on a boat and one woman and some guys took they chartered some little boat, and they were divers or something, and they're the ones that planted the charges. You know, and I guess they said some experts are saying they would need a far bigger boat, and you can't just go out there and do it like Olaf Scholz is saying that they were doing it. In any case, you know, but a lot of them were saying that they were fishing. They were going out fishing, you know, and what happened was, I don't know. I think there were 3 guys and 1 woman, I believe. And what happened, you know, when they were going fishing? You know, one guy, he got a halibut. He fished, he had a halibut. And the other guy, he caught a small stingray. And then the other guy, he got 2 salmon. And the only thing that she came back with was a red snapper. Anyway, that was a joke I heard somewhere else. I thought I would throw it in there. So, that's what happens when you send a bunch of guys out with 1 woman on a boat, you know. I don't know, maybe she was Ukrainian. Maybe that tells you something else too. I don't know. Again, I'm hoping I can get out of here this way. This was the backside of where you saw that heavy machinery that was out there. Gosh, look at this old house too. It's like that's already fixed up. But look at those old planks. Wow. You could probably get that for a song and a dance if you're good at singing and dancing. Let's see. What else do we have? Massey. Thomas Massey, Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky. The Republicans, the Trump Forever Republicans are really going after him. And I guess he's popular enough that maybe they won't be able to destroy them. So they're running another Republican against him because Massey, this is very loud here. I should go back. I don't have much to report on. I'll just maybe do a little bit of jogging after I finish up here. And but anyway, they're going to be going against him. Of course, you have a Democrat going against him as well. And it's got Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, these are actually the real MAGA people. And Donald Trump is not MAGA anymore. So he's not Make America Great anymore. It was something very strange. Apparently, somebody told me about it. I didn't see it myself. But it's very strange that they said that Tucker Carlson, I don't know who he was talking to, but and you hear a lot of people saying this stuff, and a lot of it is just too far over the top. But they said that I don't even know if I can repeat it. Because I didn't see it. Maybe I'm going to be going too far overboard here. But they said that Tucker was saying that there are, or somebody maybe, I don't know, or some illusion that there's people that aren't people. They're masquerading as people, which I don't think so. But in any case, that there are these people and they are in control of the White House, maybe the government, the entire government. And lady with a weed eater. So they're in control of the government, and they're out to destroy, it makes sense though, that's the bad part. They're out to destroy, I don't know if it was the United States or humanity or whatever, but when you're watching about how it's actually going in Europe, that you have Europe, Ursula von der Leyen coming and making this deal with Trump, and a lot of people say that it's never going to happen anyway because Europe doesn't have that kind of money, and the United States cannot produce that many weapons, and it's all a bunch of fantasy. So I really don't know, where, it was a huge lopsided trade deal where the EU gets nothing and the United States gets everything. But it's too difficult to believe. But it's notwithstanding the fact, even when you go through Olaf Scholz and Merz and a lot of these people, why would they purposefully destroy their countries? And now it's the same thing with Donald Trump. But he's doing it in a lot more sneaky way. Apparently, a lot of people are saying that these tariffs are going to be tremendous harm to the United States because apparently what is going to happen is Donald Trump, we're bringing trillions of dollars in as we speak right now, trillions and trillions. We are going to get so rich, and everybody's going to be saying, oh, we're too much success. It's too much success. We can't take all the success anymore. It's just way too much. So that's what Donald Trump says, but apparently it doesn't really make sense because, there's all these tariffs, and Donald Trump is throwing these tariffs on there. And of course, I was showing these cars in another video, 1 or 2 videos ago, which are like the most, for electric cars at least, it's a BYD or whatever. And they are the most best quality for the money of electric vehicles. And they're made in China. And Donald Trump put huge tariffs on them in his first term, and then Biden increased the tariffs in his term, and I don't know, and Trump is now again putting even more tariffs, especially on these cars because they're so cheap, I guess, and such good quality that they will put all American cars and European electric car makers out of business. And that's not it. There is like Sumi, they make electric cars as well. And it's a factory where no humans work. It's all made by machines. It's all automated. And they can put out thousands of cars like in a very short period of time. It's like the most efficient factory in the world, and it goes 24 hours non-stop. Not like when you're switching over from one shift to the other. If you've ever done shift work as I've done, and the rest of you, a lot of you have probably done shift work, a lot of times, changing over, it wastes a little bit of time and all that as well. But there's not even that with these things. They just keep right on going. You have to have some humans, I guess, putting in some of the parts. I would not know how that would work out, but I guess that's how it works. I don't know, that the machines are doing it all. And anyway, and then somebody wrote a comment about electric vehicles, and apparently, you have to be very careful. A lot of these things, they blow up. I have electric bike, and 2, I guess, myself and my wife, and it's like I'm like this. You don't want to, you want to charge them, and it takes a long time to charge them, and you want to kind of be there right when they're charged and unplug it, because I think sometimes they can, if you overcharge them, they can, blow up or whatever like that. So it's not like your cell phone where and I guess even some cell phones blow up too. I think there was a Samsung model, remember some time ago. But when you leave them on charging, they can blow up. But these electric things, even bicycles, I guess they can as well. And then not to mention the fact that their electric vehicles are heavier, like going over bridges. There's a lot of things, and maybe when it's really cold, if you're in a cold climate, a lot of time they don't work. So there's some heavy disadvantages for electric vehicles, and obviously some of those, in time, they can probably iron them out. It's just like having a diesel, the glow plugs. I had a diesel. I had a couple diesels, and you know they have to have a pre-warmer, so to pre-warm the glow plugs so that you can start them when the weather is cold. So it's all built in now. You know, back when I had a 1965 Mercedes with some wings on the back, and I had it for a short period of time. And but you know, it was an older car. I was fixing it up, and I just got out of the army, and you know I had another Mercedes at that time. It was a '69 Mercedes 280S, and I had Mercedes when I was in Germany, but you know I had to stay with my parents when I got out of the army back in those old days, and my father said he didn't want it parked on his property, so I parked it across the street. Luckily there was kind of a vacant lot area, but I don't know, no electricity. How am I going to work on the car? All this stuff. And anyway, so somebody offered me within a very short period of time, to buy it from me. I sold it for it wasn't a huge amount of money, but I didn't really lose, so that was fine. Anyway, that's another story. Okay, you all saw that crimes lately, you know, CNN and others, you know, they're saying, like for example, with shootings and stabbings, you know, the usual stuff in America, and a lot of time in the West, people are, you know, running people over with cars and all that sort of thing. By the way, there was a boat accident in Russia where they had a boat, and this speedboat, and he plowed over two young girls, I guess, in some little thing too, and I guess they have that on video, and one of them is still in the hospital, very badly injured. So it doesn't just happen in the West, but that one was an accident. And I don't know, you get some crazy people. I don't know what's in the water in the United States, what this stuff is all happening. And wow, I thought that was a mango tree for a minute. I don't know what that is, but anyhow, actually looks like avocado mango sort of leaves. But anyway, now they're saying when they have these crimes, you know, and they show somebody walking in with a gun or something like that, a machine gun, and they say they're white people, and or probably white, or mostly white, or something like that. So a lot of people are now making some if I get out of here, I'm gonna tear you to pieces. And then they back up thinking I'm gonna jump over and go after them. But anyway, no, but I guess they're doing this. You know, I remember, I think it was during the Black Lives Matter things, they had some woman and some guy was trying to steal her car. I think the guy might have had a knife or something. Anyway, this woman is in a car, and this guy grabbed her hair, and this was reported on what's this fake news that they act like they're independent, but they're not. What is that one? NPR. You know, they act like they're independent, but they're of course paid for mostly by Bill Gates. Bill Gates pretty much is the guy that funds most of NPR, and it's fake news, obviously, but it's just a teeny little bit that it isn't. So because it's independent, but with the guy that loves the fake news and wants fake news, so it's Bill Gates, and the U.S. government gives them money and stuff. I don't know, maybe they stopped that now. You never know. But anyhow, they had something, and it was like on these BLM things, and this guy ripped the dreadlocks out of this woman's hair. She was a black driver. I don't know, and I guess they were trying to say that it was a white lady in the car and was threatening to shoot this black guy, but it wasn't anything of the sort. They just made up a story to make it, you know, how bad these white people are. Makes you wonder, they hate the Chinese even more, so why didn't they say she was Chinese? I don't know. You never know. So anyway, there's all of this stuff, and then they show a black guy, you know, he's not even really light skinned, and they say that he's white. You know, and it's like, you know, I'm not racist, you know, but I don't know how this perpetuates. And then they show always these people looting all of these shops and stuff. And it's, I don't know, 99% of the time they're black people. And I don't want to say, oh, look how bad the black people are. But you know, it's this cultural areas and places that they live and all of this stuff. And it's like perpetuating. And it's very strange because you go to different countries and you see this stuff, and these people, even in certain neighborhoods, like this area that I just now walked in. A lot of these people, you know, it's like they're farmer type people. Minsk right over there. Minsk it's just right over there. You know, just right there. But yet these people are like a village farmer attitude, and you saw that yourself with the man coming up to me thinking I'm rich because I have a cell phone. You know, that's just Minsk. It's a 10-minute walk from here. Wow. But it's very similar in a lot of places in the world, you know. I've even seen it in countries where, you know, you just a short drive from one area to the other. You know, you're going through these little areas, and everybody in this little area, they have a different dialect. On, you know, wow, it's just absolutely incredible how this stuff perpetuates its stuff. I don't know, it really interests me. So, anyway, I was talking about that with the thing with the, mostly with Massey. I was going to say that heavy pressure from AIPAC. And you know, Israel, as you all know, they are unfortunately very, very evil. This is a very evil, this is far beyond, if you want to really look at the truth, if you really do, and you think that the Nazis were bad, these people in Israel, this regime that's there right now, and a lot of their supporters, they're far worse than Adolf Hitler ever was. A lot of this stuff about Adolf Hitler, they built it up afterwards, and then during the time, and it was a lot of things were exaggerated. I'm not saying that he's a great guy. He was definitely an imperialist, and a lot of these people, you know, they're mission oriented, means do everything for the mission. It doesn't matter if a lot of people die and things. You know, and Donald Trump is very similar to that. You know, he just has other people do it and looks the other way while, you know, tens of thousands of children get killed, and then just comes out and says, I got to stop the killing, while he's giving them the weapons and the bombs to kill with. You know, everybody sees that about Donald Trump. Donald Trump does everything to perpetuate the killing, and yet he says he wants to stop the killing. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. As a matter of fact, somebody told me that JP Sears just made a comedy video about some guy waking up, and he was in a coma or something like that. He was rooting for Trump and all that, went into a coma for 6 months, and then he just woke up, and somebody was, you know, oh, well, how's Trump? You know, he woke up, oh, what's going on now with the Trump thing and all that sort of a deal, and this guy... And the whoever it was, I didn't see the video. Like I said, I don't know if the same person, JP Sears, was playing the opposite person as well, or whatever. But anyway, it's they're saying about, oh, Trump is like sending more weapons, and Biden, you mean Biden? No, Trump, and all, and Epstein and all that sort of stuff. So it's all of this stuff that Trump's going to investigate and get this done with Epstein, all that sort of stuff. And then he drops it, and then the stuff with maybe with Israel as well, killing all those people, you know, and Donald Trump is enabling all of the killing that's going on, and yet he says he's going to stop the killing and all that, you know, and like he says he stopped a big exchange between India and Pakistan, and India is saying, well, what? You never talked to us. You know, Donald Trump says he made 21 phone calls, and you know, they expose this stuff because Donald Trump is going to attack, you know, in his own way with sanctions and tariffs and all that, attack India, because Donald Trump, he wants to completely destroy BRICS, and it's like so he wants to get out and brag and say, I destroyed the BRICS. They were, you know, going to get rid of the dollar, those countries and all that, are the weapon that we use against them to punish them, to keep them all in line, to make, you know, them all poor, and to use it for us to get rich at their expense, and they don't like that. Well, we're going to destroy them then. Basically, it is a war. Donald Trump is, and it's weaponizing the dollar. That's exactly what that is. There's no doubt about that. Dollar has been weaponized for quite some time, even before Trump. You guys know that. Even when they went off the gold standard, it was quite a time, you know, since those agreements, oh gosh, what is it even called? Anyway, 1971, they started that petrodollar, blah, blah, blah. I'm even forgetting all of this stuff. What is the Glass-Steagall. So let's keep going a little bit more. Let's see. You all saw that these the stuff like I was just mentioning. You know, these things like, and they're saying that they're the white people when they're not. But it's also reflected in. And if you go to Germany, I was in Germany at that time, way back when. And you know, all this flooding in of all of these immigrants. You know, and there's no check on who these people are, and all that. And like I also said, I think it was the last video or the one before that, that Lukashenko says he's watching the ones that come into Belarus. They're under heavy scrutiny. Wait a minute, that's me. That's me. I'm an immigrant too. But anyway, and that's actually so. You have to report a few times, and they're looking at you. And we are even told, even in the school where you're taking the language school, you know, I think there's like these teeny minor and flat fractions, like jaywalking or something. I think you get a certain amount of those, but there are some things, you know, and they get out of here, you know. So, you know, they're going to kick you out. So, and I think if you are like myself and you want to stay here permanently, I think the whole thing goes for quite a few years. There's the first year. So you have 1 year, and then you have to report again, and then they look at and see if you did any kind of crimes and look up your records, and it takes a day or so, and you know, so that, and then you get an extension on your permission to stay here, and then I don't know how many years after that is, you know, if you don't do any crimes, then I think you have it like it's like a permanent residence. But then of course, if you still do something bad enough, they're going to kick you out, no matter what that is anyway. What is this? I'm just looking at some of these apples. I'm not an apple farmer. Got some kind of a thing going into this. Too bad. Look at these. You know, there's for those of you that are into farming, you know, there's a pesticide that you can use that is an organic pesticide, and of course there's various things that you can use. One of them is fish oil. You can use fish oil, and I think sometimes they have that mixed with sesame oil. And you can buy that, and there's a firm in Florida, and it's a big old jug, and of course you need a big amount. You need a great big cup if you have a backpack sprayer, and you know, of course it stinks for one day. It smells like fish, you know, your crops, you know, that whatever you smell it on. You cannot spray it in the sunlight, by the way, but right now, a perfect day, you can do this, or just go early in the morning or in the evenings, you know, when the sun is not very strong, and you spray your things, and then it will probably eliminate any of that sort of stuff, but you probably have to do it more towards the beginning. And there are these things you put in. It's like you can, I think, even use like vegetable oil from your kitchen, and you mix some of that in there, and it's like you can call it a sticker, so it sticks on a little bit just in case it rains, so it doesn't wash off right away. Well, the stuff is kind of sticky. It's oily anyway. I don't think you need it with the fish oil. But then there's another oil, and it's more expensive, and it's also better. Any of these organic sprays, you can't put them on in sunlight because you know, it'll, like that one I showed you, this oak tree, which wherever that's at, it's right here, but I don't think it's because of spraying. But if you take a lot of these organic sprayers and you spray it on in the sunlight, your leaves might end up kind of looking like this. But this, I don't really know what the deal is. This has some sort of a I don't know, maybe somebody already sprayed it. Maybe, I'll tell you what, maybe that's why these leaves look like that, because something was already eating the new growth on here. I don't really know. So, but anyway, that's one. You know, neem oil is very good, and I've used a lot of neem oil. And there's agricultural sabotage, as you know. Some places like the United States, you know, they want to sell their oranges, so somebody will bring in some sort of a pests or funguses to some other country, hopefully to destroy their citrus crop so that the United States can sell theirs easier. I'm not saying that they are. That's been done before, trust me. I know that for a fact. Introducing some pest into some other country, you know, if it looks like that your agricultural crops are being threatened, you know, and anyhow, because the country that I was living in, the citrus was virtually destroyed. All of the citrus, virtually. Sure, you can probably grow it when you got to keep spraying it. And I had, believe it or not, I haven't had an orange tree, and I planted it in the middle of a lot of coffee trees. And still, I had oranges. It was a hybrid of some sorts. I think it was like, I don't know if it had tangerine in it or something. It wasn't really super easy to peel at all, and it to taste, you know. But the oranges don't grow that well in that country anyway, because, you know, they're not really that juicy, and the cartilage on the inside, you know, there's some sort of a mineral that is missing in that country, you know, that allows these things to turn orange. So the oranges stay green and things like that. So there's some things that are not working there. Look at some. Oh, I thought it was a tent over there. Some lady. Look at back here. I don't know if you guys can see her. Let's see, where is she? Oh gosh. Здравствуйте. Я, к сожалению, я говорю только немного по-русски, немного. Я раньше тоже фермер. Кофе, ананас, авокадо, в Карибские страны остров. I just смотрю things here. That's it. My Russian is not that good. I tell you what, all day I don't hardly speak at all. The only time I speak is when I make a video. And when I do speak, anyway, I'm only speaking English for the most part. That's how are you going to make friends when you don't speak the language? So that's kind of a catch-22 right there. Talk with your friends Russian to improve your Russian. You know, if you have friends that don't speak any English or much. But then how am I going to make friends, you know, if I don't speak the language? But let's keep going. What am I saying here? Oh, I was going to talk about like criminals, like in Germany. You know, just like what they're doing in the United States, but it's also like that in Germany. And even when I was over there, but they started making it illegal to report crimes by migrants. So, and a lot of the time you have, and I don't really exactly know where they're coming from and what countries. It wasn't sure. And they had even like some sort of video things, which was really, really terrible. And they had a whole bunch of migrants, maybe from some country, and it was really, really crowded. And these guys, it's like they crowd around so that not even people can really see, and they rape women. You know, so it's a whole bunch of them. They gang rape German women, and it's not like it's happening every single day, but it happens quite a bit. And there are even bloggers in Germany that even put this stuff out because they're so disgusted by it, because the government covers it up, tells people they're not allowed to talk about it. It's very much like these grooming gangs of Pakistani men in England that were going about, and then you get these people that turn out to be actually more radical because it's a terrible situation. And you get like Tommy Robinson coming out, and he gets really extreme, but it's like a swinging pendulum. It's one extreme of these guys raping British women or you know, grooming these young girls to be prostitutes, and you know, and those guys are going to be the pimps. And I guess it's happened a lot and I guess this Keir Starmer, he was covering for that. Keir Starmer has his own sexual things, as you all heard about his bum boys. You know, these guys that Zelensky recommended to him for sex, and you know, gay, sure. Macron, I don't know if Macron is gay or if he's bisexual, you know, because it's difficult to tell when he's going around with some much older lady that wears a wig. I don't know, but a man, you know, technically speaking, could grow hair like a woman. Not me, of course. I guess I look too much like a man. with my long hair. But anyhow, so this stuff is happening in these other countries as well, and at least that's one good thing about Donald Trump trying to stop all this, all of this stuff. But apparently, you know, I guess it's losing a lot of the cheap labor in a lot of industries, possibly. And we have this sort of a deal going on here. I think it was Alexander Lukashenko. He brought in a bunch of Pakistanis. Like I said, he's watching them. But there's a lot of these jobs here, and I was working a job, and it's very low pay. And you know, there's this, like a lot of places you see in Belarus, and there's people like doing yard work and stuff. And maybe those are not really the bad pay works jobs, but I think there's possibly jobs that people don't want to do too much, and a large part because the pay is very bad. And so they bring in a lot of these people from countries that want to come to Europe. I don't know, and even that includes sometimes in Belarus. And so these people are doing the jobs, but he's just trying to make sure that here in this country, that it doesn't get out of hand like in the rest of Europe and the United States, where you have these guys coming and they're criminals, they're murderers, and they're rapists, and committing all kinds of crimes, and gathering so many benefits. You know, like in Germany, like one guy has 5 wives, and I don't know how many kids, and he's getting huge, like tens of thousands of euros every single month. So anyhow, so that's just to say that there's a lot more that needs to be understood about all this migration stuff than what meets the eye, and you guys already know that. And also, there was some people visiting me here not long ago, and they're in Russia now, and he made some of those videos, the shorts that I had. So he was the one putting in, you know, the text and all that sort of stuff. And now he's in Russia, and I sent him some things to make a video of, a matter of fact, of the store that I'm going to be going to over that way. And I went inside, you know, like filming some of the products. And he found out going over to Russia that a lot of that even the apps are blocked. So Russia, they block, just like in the West, they're blocking all the Russian sites like RT and Sputnik and who knows what all. So you cannot get this, you know, their side of the news here, from here over there. And then in Russia, I guess, I remember Russia saying they're going to do tit for tat. So whatever they do stuff against Russia, Russia's going to be doing it against them, the same thing, to mirror that. And I was starting to wonder, and I was thinking, wow, you know, and you know, a lot of people, they want to go to Russia, but that's a fact that a lot of people don't know, that they're blocking a lot of the Western news and things there. And I didn't know that, because here in Belarus, we get all the stuff from the West, and we get all the stuff from Russia and stuff as well. So that we don't have any of that blockage here. But yet he's an evil dictator. Oh, this and all that sort of stuff. Lukashenko lining people up and shooting them with a firing squad and all. I mean, all of this stuff. And there's even things that the Belarusians themselves don't believe. You know, and it's so many of us, like from Australia, from the UK, from the United States, and other countries. You know, and we're so, you know, surprised when we talk with the Belarusians. You know, and I've already said, you know, that Poland, they were bragging about how successful they are with a brainwashing, with a psyop thing against the Belarusian peoples. It's absolutely incredible. They get them to dislike their government based on stuff that isn't even true. And then the Belarusians think that it is so bad here. And as you see, you know, walking around, you know, it's like, hey, I live here too, you know, and I'm not getting any money at all from the West. Nothing whatsoever, you know. But Belarus pays me a pension. The United States does not pay me a pension, even if I worked in the United States all those years. So, but Belarus is a bad country, and the U.S. How does that work? But anyway, I work 5 months here and I get a pension, but I don't get a pension from the United States. And I worked like 11 years and all that. I mean, there's so many things. Oh, well, there's this little thing here, this over here, so you're disqualified from that and all that sort of a deal. But then, you know, I know some Americans, you know, that are over here, even, and other people, you know, but they get like really good benefits, lots of money and things like that. But I guess, you know, you have to hire a lawyer. So I guess that's, you know, you have to be a person that has some money in order to protect you getting your regular pensions and things like that. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. So that's part of that. Let me see, how much more news do I have here? That was important to put that out, though. That Russia is even blocking Western news. And some apps, even apps that you... So I guess maybe they're going one thing further. Okay, this is some big news here. I guess Russia, I think they overtook a town called Ochkov. And in that town, they caught three, count them, three British intelligence officers. And two of them of very high rank. And one of them, his name is Colonel Edward Blake. And the other high ranking is Lieutenant Colonel Richard Carroll. And who knows, the other guy might have been a sergeant or something. So, he's nothing. But they were spies and saboteurs. And when they caught them, the UK said, oh, they're tourists. They're just tourists. And I can't remember. There's a whole story about this. And Russia has these documents, has a whole bunch of documents of plans for sabotage and all that, to include Crimea. So these guys were major planners of sabotage operations in Russia, using Ukrainians and probably Russians that they can turn, offering them some money and things like, where they're catching them like nearly every day. You have film footage over here. You guys don't get it over there, but you have this film footage where the FSB, it's like the Russian FBI or something, are catching these people, and they make sure that they get the evidence and to catch these people. It's just like these ones that were planning. The Russians got them. They have some pretty good intelligence work apparently. They can't catch everything, but they catch a lot. And it was even when I came here. It was, I think, in the I was living here at that time. I think it was in 2022 when they caught these guys planning to kill the leader of this country, Lukashenko, and his entire family. They caught these guys. They recorded them, audio recordings and everything, planning to kill Lukashenko. And I think they said, oh, we were only kidding. Yeah, you meet in some place a couple times and you have these plans and say exactly how you're going to do it. Oh, but we were only kidding. It's a lot better than these guys like, what is this, the Skripals or whatever. These two guys, they have zero evidence, that these two Russian guys poisoned the Skripals. The Skripal, the father Skripal was a double agent for Britain and Russia, and he served like 10 years in prison in Russia, and then he was released, and they basically kicked him out of Russia, so he had to go to the UK, and he was living there for years. So he served his time in Russia. Russia really didn't care, and his daughter went to go visit him, and then they made these two guys that actually a lot of people in Russia are saying that they were homosexual guys, and they were visiting some town or something, seeing the cathedral, and I guess there's evidence that they were tourists. So, and they said that these guys did something, and they had no ties whatsoever to anything in Russia, military things like that. But anyway, it turned out it was all fake. But anyway, they're still going with that. I don't know, but these guys, they went back to Russia, and Britain wanted these two guys, and they're like, they're not any kind of spy material or anything like that. So, but anyhow, these high officers, at least, maybe these two guys, they'll probably get life in prison, apparently, in Russia. And Belesov, the Minister of Defense of Russia, said they are not going to do any prisoner exchange for these guys. Great Britain, of course, wants these high-ranking guys back, and Russia says they're going to hang on to these guys. They're not going to be trading them for any. And of course, obviously, then Great Britain, who's actually the ones that are doing a lot of these drone strikes here. So I guess they are the biggest masterminds of all of these drone strikes and killing civilians. The British are the ones doing it, and the attacks on the Crimea Bridge and all of this stuff. The British are mostly behind it. So much more than the United States ever was. So it looks like, I don't know, I think Russia was saying something like their biggest enemy is like going to be Germany, or is, or what, but it looks the British definitely are. So that doesn't make any sense. It's definitely the British. But they show that this is now direct support. Of course. What about Storm Shadow missiles and all that? Great Britain was really cruising for a bruising. you know, and there really might be some skirmish between, and they don't even have a military worth anything, you know, but I think they're also part of this involved of militarizing these islands in the Baltic Sea. Great Britain, you better watch what you're doing here. Russia says that these guys do not fall under the Geneva Convention, and Russia doesn't have the death penalty. Belarus does, by the way, but Russia doesn't, and there's still some talk that it's very possible that these guys might get the death penalty, because this is a special case. Okay, and I think that's about all I have for right now. This is a very long video, and longer than I thought, and I'm glad you guys joined me. I guess a lot of people watched the last one that I made. Today's a little bit of a colder day. Should be wearing a shirt at least, and I don't know. Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye bye.